The third way to create a next program is to load an activity and enable next. In this case, you load a single drill or exercise, enable next, and then add guides at as many positions throughout the movement as you would like. You can then save and train a series of dynamic motions. This method allows you to set up multiple guides under one activity. From the home screen, we're going to go ahead and select our client. Return to the home screen, we're going to click Train. And from here, we're simply going to load a single activity. We'll choose Rotation at Address. Once this activity is now loaded, we're simply going to click Launch, Train All Activities. So even though this is a single activity, I'm going to show you how to turn Next on so you can make this a dynamic movement with lots of rotations throughout. To do that, we're simply going to click Show Guide Info. We're going to click on Enable Next. When I do this, you're going to notice the Next Plus button appears. So when you disable Next, this button disappears. When you enable it, it adds that button onto the live training page. We're going to simply close now. So now that we've got Next enabled, the great thing with this is we can have the player get set up. We can set live on where we'd like their rotation at address. But here's the great thing, we can have the player swing halfway back now. Let's just say we get them in the orientation we like. We click Next Plus. That adds the guide. Now they can swing up top. We can click Next. We can swing halfway down. Click Next. We can go Impact. Click Next. We can go all the way to Finish and click Next. And now we're right back to address. So now the player can come in by themselves and go from address The one thing that you can do here when you're finished, notice this is a rotation at address activity now. Well, we know now that this is more than rotation at address. So now I can click Show Guide Info. I can get rid of at address. And maybe here I just want to type dynamic rotation because we had 5 or 6 guides that we loaded in there. I simply click Close. That's called dynamic rotation. So now I can save this as a program. I can select the date or naming structure, however you save your programs. It's saved as a client. So now this program would show up in my client programs, and I've also got my dynamic rotation drill now saved that's very specific for my player. A great way to take a single activity, create a next dynamic motion, but also then save it in a client's program.